The main character of this anime is a girl named Kotoura Haruka. She seems to have lost interest in many things in life. Therefore, she sees everything in black and white. It turns out that she could read people's minds since she was a little girl. Things went well at first because she could only win games like rock, paper, scissors or guess what her parents wanted to eat. But then she started telling her pals about the boys they liked, even though they were too young to say so. This made them label her a liar and protest about her lying. The protagonist's instructor eventually phoned her parents to talk about this since Kotoura said so many bad things about the other children that they thought she was a compulsive liar. Over time, the protagonist's father stopped caring about the family and left all the parenting to the mother. Because of this, her mother tried to get her daughter to see a doctor, but all the doctors said that the main character was perfectly healthy. The mother's mental health got worse over time, and she even thought that her kid might have an evil spirit inside of her. At one point, she didn't even want to take care of her daughter anymore. The last straw was when the main character told her class about her father's cheating, which made her parents leave her. The whole class also stayed away from her since they thought she was lying. She felt that she was meant to be alone, especially when the stray kitten she fed was taken away. The main character moves to a new school now, expecting everything to remain the same, with everyone looking at her and thinking awful things about her. But she sees a boy who doesn't pay any attention to her. Manabe is the name of this boy. He alters her life by only thinking about what he says to her. The main character keeps pushing away people who want to be her friend, since they always end up thinking awful things about her. That's when Manabe tries to get close to her, and she finally figures out that she can read his mind. Manabe is quite laid back with the main character, yet she continually trying to get away from him. She asks him why he wants to be close to her, because he won't give up. Manabe tells her the truth. He has no idea. The main character thinks he's just a fool. He tells her how great it is that she can read people's minds. But this makes her mad because that skill has only ever made her sad. She tries to get away from him even more, but of course he won't let her. He gets her attention by purposefully thinking dirty things about her, and she tells him to stop. But then she thinks about how being around him might be hard because she won't be able to think about anything else. The main character can't even think about making a friend because of her bad history, but she continues running across Manabe by happenstance, and each time they get closer. One day, she even saves him from a careless vehicle, and Manabe thanks her, but she gets harmed in the process. They go to the main character's residence to help her with her wound, and she informs him that a lot of significant people had left her because of her power. That's why she wants him to remain away from her, even if she hates being alone or injuring other people by accident. She dislikes it the most when the people she loves leave her. Manabe tells her that he would never go, and because he is telling the truth, the main character can't help but cry because she is finally delighted to have a friend again. The next day, the main character wakes up very happy since she has a buddy. Everyone in class is surprised to find them interacting casually. Not long after, a student named Yuriko comes up to them and asks if the main character can genuinely read minds. She doesn't hesitate to ask her to join her group after she knows it's real, but it's more like she's forcing the protagonist to join than inviting her. When Manabe sees Yuriko bringing the main character away, he insists on going with them. He says she should take him too because his thoughts can excite the main character. At first, the main character is scared, but it turns out that Manabe just doesn't want to break his word to never leave her alone. She calms down a little as she hears what he has to say. But when the main character sees the club room, she is afraid again since it appears like a haunted home. Dai, the vice president, is the only person inside. It looks like everyone else left the club on the first day. Yuriko also locks the place up so they can't leave. The main character is curious about what the club's mission is. They inform her that their goal is to establish that psychic powers are real. The main character doesn't want to help with that, but the president makes her do it. Manabe doesn't like the club after school because it means he won't be able to spend time alone with the main character. But he stays in the club because she looks joyful. The next day in the club, Kotoura discovers a painful recollection from Yuriko that makes her feel bad for her. But it turns out that this was on purpose. Yuriko merely wanted to show off the main character's skills, even if it meant making her feel bad. The next day, the main character doesn't want to go to the club, but Manabe makes her go regardless. The president tells the members that it was her fault that the main character saw that horrible recollection, and then she goes on to explain everything. She says her mother had a power like the main character's, Therefore, she began to help the police. But after a while, people called her a phony and a crazy person, which made her feel so bad that she killed herself. Even though Yuriko says she's all right, Manabe knows this still hurts her terribly. The main character, on the other hand, doesn't want to say anything because she thinks it's her responsibility that Yuriko had to bring up such a hard subject. The president has a meeting the next day to talk about what happened, since people still don't think that psychic powers are real. She comes up with a way to show that they are real in school. She wants to use Kotoura's talents to tell people's fortunes based on what she already knows about them. The main character doesn't want to be seen, so the president offers to be the face of the group while the main character hides and tells the president what others are thinking. Sadly, the main character makes too many blunders because she can't tell whose thoughts she's reading. Because of this, she chooses to do it herself right away. Everyone starts to pay attention to her right away since she can guess things that no one else could possibly know. At one of those times, a classmate named Hayuri comes to harass her. This is because she is envious that Manabe is always with the main character. Hayuri proceeds to insult her in her head, which brings back the protagonist's trauma and makes her throw up. In the days that follow, all the other students make fun of her for throwing up in front of so many people. The main character doesn't say anything, but Manabe sees that she's acting unusual and looks sad. He notices a note pinned to her back by chance, which makes him mad, and he asks her who is troubling her. She doesn't say anything and departs so he doesn't become more entangled. But Manabe soon figures out on his own that Hayuri has been bullying her. He tells her to halt and faces her. She is angry because she doesn't understand why he cares so much about someone like the main character. That's when Manabe exclaims that he likes her. The main character hears all of this from outside and can't help but cry since she is so moved that someone would stand up for her. But she is too embarrassed to look Manabe in the eyes. Yuriko comes up to her soon after and says he wants to apologize for putting her in such a bad spot. The main character doesn't bear a grudge against her and asks to stay in the club, even though she isn't really helpful in reaching their goal. People start to look at Kotoura and Manabe in an odd way the next day because of what he said, but he tells her to disregard it when other people make fun of them as a pair. Hayuri becomes upset about this. The main character and Dai go to the club early, and to pass the time, he makes fun of her by thinking about inappropriate things about her. This makes her strike him in humiliation. Yuriko sees the main character acting strangely because she heard Manabe say he liked her. The president advises Manabe to take advantage of it because the main character likes him too, even if Manabe doesn't know it. The president says that Kotoura may make Manabe's lunches and even feed him, just like she does with Dai, because the main character is so shy. The main character is ashamed and says she would never go that far, but she offers to at least make his lunch, which makes Manabe very happy. Later, Yuriko tells them what they need to do that day: go sing karaoke. He says it will help the main character get better at going out with Manabe in the future. Even though she's never sang before, everyone cheers her on. She really tries hard at karaoke, but singing is not one of her natural skills. She starts to sing more and more off-key, and by the end, it's hard to enjoy her performance. Dai asks the main character if she's simply assisting because she feels bad about being so involved last time, but she informs him that everything is part of her grand plan. Hayuri wakes up the next day angry because she still can't figure out how to keep Manabe away from the main character. The boys at her martial arts dojo are prepared to do everything to make her feel better, so they come up with an idea. In the meantime, the main character doesn't make lunch for Manabe. Yuriko asks her what she's doing, telling her that everything is coming to her and that Manabe would be happy with everything. The main character reveals that she did make his lunch, but it was too embarrassing because she wrote love with the sauce, so she tossed it away. Yuriko helps the main character see that she's overthinking things, so she offers to bring him lunch the next day, and Manabe joyously bounces away. The boys from Hayuri's dojo are following Manabe, and when he is almost alone, they jump him. This happened when Hayuri lied and said that he was bothering her and asked them to hit him a little bit. Manabe clearly wasn't going to just stand there and let them attack him, so he fought back as much as he could, but there were too many of them. Manabe couldn't go to school the next day since he was in the hospital. Hayuri freaks out as she realizes she never meant for him to get hurt that terribly. Now it feels like her lie got him killed. The main character, on the other hand, is afraid after reading Hayuri's thoughts. Hayuri is even more scared when she realizes that the main character knows everything and thinks that the main character will blame her. But instead of telling her, the main character ignores her and goes straight to the hospital to see Manabe. Kotoura is a little bit relieved that he is still the same happy guy, even though he is hurt. She still blames herself and thinks it's her responsibility that he was harmed. She decides to stay away from everyone, just like she had planned when she first joined the academy. After Manabe gets out of the hospital, he can't find her anywhere. She had moved again, and to a place he didn't know. As the days go by, Manabe starts to act like he did before the main character came into his life. Hayuri and her pals tell him to try again, but he says he's alright, even though it's evident he's simply faking. Later, Yuriko goes to see him because he hasn't been going to the club. She asks whether he's willing to let the main character go, but he says he won't go back to the club because he can't do anything to bring her back. The president, on the other hand, uses force to convince him, as Dai was able to discover the spot where the main character might be. They want to go get her back. Manabe remembers how angry he was when the main character went without saying goodbye. With new resolve, they all set out to find her. A local police officer told them to go to the temple since there was a monk there who might be able to help them because none of them had made reservations. When the monk hears their story, he is happy to see them since it reminds him of a girl he met years ago. He says he couldn't help that girl since she thought her powers were to blame for all the awful things that happened to her. Yuriko and Manabe are shocked to learn that the female he is talking about is actually the main character. This suggests that the monk might know where she is, so they ask him to escort them to her. He agrees because they seem to be dear friends of hers. The main character, on the other hand, is now living with her grandfather in her old residence. He definitely cares about her. But it turns out that he too has inappropriate thoughts about his granddaughter, and he gets very upset when he hears that a boy is also teasing her with inappropriate thoughts. The next day, the club members finally show up at the main character's house. Her grandfather is already there, anxious to see the lad who has been giving his granddaughter bad notions. He is a little let down when he finds out that much of it was only in her head, so he brags instead, saying that he has already touched his grandchild. While the two fight over who embarrassed the main character more, she sees that the others come to locate her and rushes away right away. The people at the club don't think twice about chasing after her. They split up to look for her because the home is so big. Manabe, on the other hand, stays behind and thinks to himself that he only wants her to come back so he can spend the rest of his school days with her and the other club members. The main character can't help but cry when she hears this touching thought. But just as she's ready to show herself, Manabe's ideas change. He starts to think about how he wants to spank her for leaving without saying anything. This makes her change her mind about going back. Yuriko and Dai catch up to her quickly, no matter what. They yell at her for leaving without saying anything, and the main character says she just wanted to walk away so that things would go back to normal and no one else would get hurt. Manabe is outraged and says that none of this was her responsibility. Her grandfather apologizes for her and says that she had never had any friends before, so when things got too much for her, she just ran away. The grandfather wants to set up for Kotoura to come back, but the main character runs away again, still feeling like she doesn't deserve to come back after everything. But Manabe reminds her that she doesn't have to feel guilty all by herself. Hayuri shows up at the main character's house to say sorry right then. She says she was jealous and regrets all the trouble she caused, such sending her dojo pals to beat up Manabe. That's why she wants to get the main character to go back to school. She says that Kotoura has helped her see her flaws and wants to be a better person. The main character hears this and realizes she has nothing else to blame herself for, so she decides to go back to school. Hayuri now defends the main character at every turn, but this makes others turn against her instead, because they don't understand why she changed her mind so quickly. She runs to the main character, crying, because she is concerned because not only does Manabe hate her now, but so do other people. She joins the club just to be around Kotoura. Yuriko wants to know what kind of power she has. She doesn't really have any, but she tries to seem cool by saying she can move things without touching them. This goes wrong immediately, and she ends up having one of the most embarrassing moments of her life while trying to pretend to have powers. In the end, they all think it's just part of the president's fun, so they let her into the club anyway and throw a welcome party for both the main character and Hayuri. Yuriko chooses the protagonist's apartment for the party because she's the only one who lives alone. Dai gets films of people with psychic powers so they can have a weekend that is worthy of their club. Kotoura agrees, but only because she has to. Even though she told them not to look through her stuff, the first thing they do when they get to her house is search every inch of it. Manabe is shocked at how much smaller this flat is than her last one. The main character says she chose it so she could be closer to school. He becomes concerned when he hears this since he doesn't know if he can still control his thoughts around her. Later, the girls start to cook, and Manabe can't help but assume bad things when he sees the main character in an apron. She tries to keep him from thinking about it by giving him food, but Yuriko immediately tells them they can't act like a married couple in front of the others because it's not right to show off their pleasure. The rest of the night goes as planned, but the main character falls asleep in a strange position in the middle of the night. Yuriko gets an extremely embarrassing picture of her, which she subsequently shares as a memory of the night. The next day, the main character has trouble focusing since Manabe shows her an old flyer from Hayari's dojo from when she was a kid. The flyer is funny since it shows her attempting to be tough, and because she laughs, the main character misses the role assignment for the sports festival. Thus she ends up in the relay race. The main character asks Hayari to exchange with her because she has an even worse secret than being psychic. She runs very slowly. But since everyone already thought this, they utterly dismiss her appeals. The main character approaches the club for help because she will be quite ashamed if she runs in the race. The president informs her that she has to train hard every day until the event so that she can run as fast as she can without feeling bad about it. Finally, the day of the race comes. When it's the main character's turn, she quickly realizes the unpleasant truth. The other racers are far faster than she is. But Manabe tells the whole class to applaud for her because she is doing her best for their class. She strives too hard because they are cheering for her, and she trips because she wasn't paying attention to the track. She goes home feeling sad and defeated. But the old flyer Manabe gave her makes her feel better right away, exactly like he said it would. Days later, Hayari questions the main character about her good grades because she thinks she might be cheating. Hayari was the only one who failed, and it turns out that summer vacation has started. She asks Kotoura to wait until her extra lessons are completed, so she can go on the summer trip that the group has planned. The main character accepts, and after Hayari is done, they all go to Kotoura's grandfather's house. Everyone is excited because they've never been on vacation with a rich family before. Kotoura tells them not to anticipate too much, but things are over the top from the start. They are picked up in a limousine. The grandfather is surprised to see a new person in the group, but he makes it plain that Hayari is not his favorite because he already knows what she did to the main character. The grandfather wanted to visit an old hospital that was supposed to be empty and where tests were done on kids with psychic powers. Yuriko is excited since this sounds like the right thing for their club to do. The main character tries to rethink her intentions, but her grandfather leaves her outside, and the president tugs her inside against her will, reluctant to let the chance go to waste. Kotoura is scared, as expected, so she holds on to Hayari closely, which makes Manabe jealous. He uses all of his strength to drag her away. Yuriko encourages everyone to calm down because the grandfather's claim is very unlikely to be true. She says there's nothing to be afraid of because she doesn't believe in ghosts. A chupacabra monster suddenly snatches the main character from behind, making everyone run forward without thinking. At the end of the route, they are all shocked to find a secret theme park just for Kotoura. After finding out she would be bringing friends home for the first time, the grandfather had it erected. He still makes it apparent that he doesn't like Hayari, though. The next day, Manabe understands that the house makes the main character sad, so he takes her to the beach to keep her mind off of it. But he annoys her without meaning to when he thinks about Yuriko and Hayari's bodies for too long. The main character lets him enjoy the vista while she quietly floats into the ocean. They see that the main character is being carried away by the river when it's time for lunch. Manabe doesn't think twice before rushing to save her with a boat. When he eventually gets her out, she holds on to him and shakes with fright. Having her so close puts Manabe in automatic mode. Yet his grandfather yells at him and calls him useless for not doing more. After that, the grandfather asks them to eat, and he has engaged a professional chef to cook for them. But the main character sits alone, depressed because she made her own lunch for Manabe, but it went unappreciated again. Manabe walks up to her while she's sulking and eats from her prepared meal, saying it's the best thing he could eat right now. They finally light off fireworks, and the main character realizes how much fun she has had and thinks it is the best day of her life. She runs to catch up with the others but falls. The next day, Both the grandfather and Manabe are sad since the hot springs are closed for a short time, so they won't be able to see the girls bathing. But their wants are not so weak that they would just give up. Instead, they start excavating in the hopes of finding their own hot spring. The females are getting dinner ready at the same time. Hayari makes a questionable food for everyone to try later, as usual. The boys give trying in the end since they only find oil instead of hot water. Hayari joyfully begs Manabe to taste her food when it's time to eat, but he quickly changes colors and gives her his own food to show her how bad her cooking was. The food makes both of them hallucinate, which makes them feel uncomfortable. The main character has to keep them in check so things don't become worse. When Manabe wakes up the next morning, he is shocked to find himself laying between Hayari and Kotoura. He believes the worst things, but he's not the only one. Hayari also thinks something must have happened. Thank you for watching to this point. For the anime name, check the comment section. For part 2 and more interesting anime recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We got other anime recaps for you. Check our playlist or choose a video. Thanks again for watching.